All righty. Let's see. What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global back here with another video. Might have started a little bit laggy. Might have started not a little bit laggy. Kind of have some software stuff going on here. As always, StreamYard loves to work with us some days and not work with us other days. So maybe just skip the first 10 seconds and hop into this intro. But you got Patriots Global here. You got Jet Central here. As always, we are going to be breaking down the New England Patriots Week 3 matchup against the New York Jets, the New England Patriots' first road game. Now, last year, the Patriots were better on the road versus at home. And so far, the Patriots are 0-2 at home. So we're going to see if they are a better road team. But I thought there's no better way to break down this matchup than to bring on easily one of my favorite YouTubers on this platform in Jet Central, a good friend of mine. Ian, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, of course. And we also did a breakdown over on Ian's channel at Jet Central. I'll have everything linked in the description below, of course. So make sure you guys do go ahead, you check out his content and check out the collab video that we did also, because obviously it's going to be a little bit different than what we're going to be doing here today. But Ian, I gotta ask you my first bearing question. Now, obviously, we know the Jets are 1-1. The Patriots are at the bottom right now. The Patriots are literally the worst in the division. You have the undefeated Miami Dolphins, who are 2-0, and then you have the Jets, who are 1-1, and the Bills, who are 1-1, and the Patriots, like I said, 0-2. So it looks like you guys are actually right now, because of that tiebreaker, you guys are second in the division right now, despite not having Aaron Rodgers, which obviously is a bit of a blow. But we know that this New England Patriots team has beaten you guys the last 14 matchups. You haven't won since 2015 against us. And so my big question for you guys, coming off of that big loss to the Dallas Cowboys, which I thought you guys actually started off pretty good. It was closer than I thought, but I thought you guys came out of halftime and it was a little bit questionable, right? Like, you guys literally didn't score any points coming out of halftime into that second half of the game. Yeah. And there were two players that I was really questioning amongst your offense, just in terms of playing wise here in week 3, and even just health wise here in week 3. And that's going to be Garrett Wilson, who we saw seemed like he got banged up a little bit. And then we also saw Breece Hall not get a whole lot of opportunities in this game. In fact, he only got a total of 4 carries in this game. What are your kind of thought process on them heading here into week 3? And what are your expectations for both of those guys, as they are the most explosive pieces to your offense?
Yeah, dude. So first things first, Garrett Wilson's going to be fine. He only got the wind knocked out of him, but it definitely looked, it was a scare right at the end of the game. Like, the Jets were going to lose that one, multiple possession loss. And then all of a sudden you see like the young star wide receiver go down with an injury. It's just like, man, like when it rains, it pours. As far as Breece Hall getting the 4 carries, I have no idea why that was the case. I mean, maybe you can make an argument that, hey, the Jets are down early in the game, they want to come back. It started really from start to finish. Dallas really controlled it. And of course, the Jets also have Dalvin Cook. There's only one football to really go around here. But the fact that he only touched the football 4 times was ridiculous. I mean, he's honestly the Jets' best player offensively. He needs to be involved more. That's the bottom line. I know he's coming. He was had the ACL surgery. Yes, he is 100%, but the Jets do want to ease him back in. They don't want to just, throw the entire kitchen sink at him and say, hey, you're our offense, you have to do, everything here. I understand that fully, but he looked fantastic against the Bills. Didn't really have a ton of opportunities against Dallas. So both Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, I definitely want to be, or I want to see featured a lot in this game.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, while we're on that topic, kind of transitioning into another big player for you guys. Obviously, Sauce Gardner, seems like it was a little bit of a rough week for Sauce, right? And obviously, we don't have a CeeDee Lamb on this team, but we do have a big explosive piece here in a guy like Devontae Parker. Pop Douglas, who I think, like we talked about on your channel, has some question marks on if he's going to play or not, but he's been a pretty explosive piece for the Patriots through 2 weeks when given the opportunity. Kendrick Bourne, who looks like he's been pretty tough to guard. Juju Smith-Schuster, who stepped up a little this past week, but still has some of those question marks. And then obviously the Patriots tight end duo, which has been absolutely phenomenal through 2 weeks. And then you look at CeeDee Lamb's numbers. I mean, targeted 13 times, 11 receptions, 143 yards. A lot of people put that on Sauce. Are you worried about Sauce heading into this game? I mean, last year he was absolutely locked down. Seems like maybe having a little bit of troubles, so far through 2 weeks. Are you concerned at all, or do you think he is just going to come in this game and absolutely lock down whoever he's on?
Yeah, not really. I'm not too concerned about it. If you look at like how the Jets play defense, everything is based off of the front four down linemen getting after opposing quarterbacks. And if you can't do that, everybody else, like you're essentially at the mercy of the other team's quarterback, right? If they have a good one back there, they're going to nickel and dime you. They're going to find the open guy. CeeDee Lamb continued to get open, but a big reason why was because of Dallas's offensive line. Dak Prescott just was not going down. I don't have the exact stats on me, but I believe Prescott was sacked one time, and
yeah, one time.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. And granted, Dak was getting the football out of his hands pretty quickly, but honestly, I mean, from offense and defense, it just looked like everybody was a step slower. It just didn't look like they were ready to play. I didn't really agree with the offensive and defensive game plans going into it. It just really seemed like not Jets brand style of football, if that makes sense. Missed tackling, couldn't get it off the field on third downs. There's a laundry list of issues here. It wasn't just like Gardner getting exposed. He doesn't follow the number one wide receiver, and they don't typically play like a lot of man coverage anyway. So, that thrown on top of the fact that the Jets just weren't getting after Dak was one of the reasons why they had so much success through the air.
Yeah, and I agree. I think a lot of people gave Sauce a lot of hate, and I know he was asked about it in some press conferences and whatnot. Not a great game by him, but I thought, like you said, that really wasn't all on him. And I think you kind of look at those statistics and people say, oh, well, your cornerback one is obviously going to be on their number one wide receiver, who is CeeDee Lamb. Oh, CeeDee Lamb basically had almost every catch thrown his way for almost 150 yards. That's all on Sauce. And while it's partially on Sauce, it's not completely on him. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. And you hit on another good point that I want to ask you. Now, the New England Patriots are struggling big time amongst their offensive line. Now, there's definitely question marks on what this team's going to look like. Even here in week 3, we got Cole Strange back this past week. He looked all right. Obviously a slower start as he hasn't played football in quite a while. He got injured in the beginning of training camp, but he should be back. David Andrews dealing with some injuries, but he played in this game, so he should be fine. And then Mike Onwenu played the first half of the game and then came out, it seems like, in the second half. So he'll definitely play in some type of capacity in this game, but how much is definitely going to be a question for the Patriots. And then the biggest question for them, obviously, going to be tackles. Now, Trent Brown should be back in this game. They just gave him a little bit of a contract restructure that gives him a little bit of extra money, an extra $2 million in incentives. So I think he'll want to be back. He'll want to be on the field. But right tackle, Calvin Anderson looked like a revolving door this past week. Big questions with him, especially when it comes to speed rushers. And Mac Jones has been the most pressured quarterback so far in the National Football League through 2 weeks. So my question for you is going to be, what is your confidence level amongst this Jets defensive line, who you even said had some question marks, and we know that the Patriots O-line hasn't been great, especially in run blocking, which has been the biggest surprise. But they've been okay in terms of pass blocking. But if you want to beat Mac Jones, you cannot let him sit there and pick you apart. We thought that Mac Jones was going to look a lot worse under pressure. His numbers before this season under pressure versus when he was in a clean pocket were night and day. And so far, he's had over 100 passer rating when he has been under pressure, completing more than 70% of his passes too when under pressure. So my question for you is this going to be a game where you think the Jets are going to get a lot of pressure on Mac Jones, or are you concerned at all with what you saw from last week on this Jets defensive line on, well, how much pressure are they really going to get here on Mac Jones in this game?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Dallas quick, 1 to 3 step drop back. And it's also a testament to 1 to 3 step drop back out of the shotgun. And Dak just, is a veteran quarterback in the league, just knew exactly where to go with the football, wasn't pushing downfield, didn't really feel the need to press. They started the game off with the football. They went right down the field and scored. There was never that, that moment in the Cowboys, offensive room, where they said, "Oh man, we need 7 here. Like it has to get done." They were in charge from the start. But I think when you just look at the Jets defensive line, it's stacked, it's loaded. I'm not really too concerned about it whatsoever. But again, going back to the Cowboy game, I think not only was Dak just doing a good job, but it's also a testament to Dallas and their offensive line.
Yeah, 100%. Now we have a couple more questions for, of course, Ian about this game. But before we do that, guys, you already know that we have to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of the channel today over at Mojo. You guys know Mojo. We've been talking about them for quite a while now. And I do want to give you guys a little bit of an update here on the giveaway. So, Ian, if you don't know about this, we are actually giving away this helmet right here. We're giving away this signed Christian Gonzalez helmet. And let me tell you, Christian Gonzalez has been a top 3 graded cornerback through 2 weeks so far. And so if you guys don't want this signed Christian Gonzalez helmet, let me tell you, I don't think the price is ever going to be better for a Christian Gonzalez helmet, because he is definitely going to be something special in this league. Maybe even by the end of the season, being one of the best cornerbacks in this league. And this baby right here is definitely going to be worth a lot more than I bought it for. So, like I said, we are going to be giving this puppy away thanks to Mojo. So, if you guys do want to enter the contest for this signed Christian Gonzalez helmet giveaway, all you guys have to do right now, there's going to be a link in the description box below. It's going to be pinned in the comments section below, or right now, as you can see, right over by Ian, there's a little QR code. So you guys can actually just scan that QR code, tap the link that pops up, and it will take you right to the App Store. Unfortunately, this is only going to be for iPhone, iOS users. Currently, they're working on getting it up for Android users, so be tuned for that. But right now, this is only for iPhone users. But if you guys either click that link or scan that QR code, it'll take you to the Mojo Fantasy app. All you have to do is create an account. We changed it up a little bit. It started with you guys having to deposit that $10 minimum. We're changing that up. All you guys have to do is download that app, make an account, and send a screenshot to me, either with my email, which is in the description below, or tag me in it on Instagram, or tag me on it at Twitter. Those handles are in the description box below. Also, if you guys want to enter this Christian Gonzalez signed helmet. Let me tell you real quick about Mojo too, guys. I'm absolutely in love with the Mojo Fantasy app. It's a crazy new app that turns sportsbook odds and selections into fantasy contests. So this is basically how it works. There's going to be thousands of NFL and MLB props, and you guys build your own portfolio. And the better that your portfolio performs, the more cash that you guys are ultimately going to win. You guys can pick as many props as you want, and you try to beat the crowd. That's the best thing about Mojo, is that you're going up against real people. You're not going up against a computer like you are with most betting platforms. It's an absolute whole new way to play fantasy football. The props act like stocks, so you guys can buy and sell those stocks live all game long. It is the only fantasy app that lets you guys make moves after the game starts, so that you guys aren't going to be stuck with a bad pick. You guys can also cash in on a hot start, or just hang on with your picks and let them ride throughout the game. That's it. You make picks, you make moves, and you make money. If this is something you guys are looking to do, I will say Mojo is only right now available in, I believe, 19 states right now out of all 50. So not everybody's going to be able to play right now, but if you're able to, I would definitely check it out, because right now, you guys, by using that QR code or by hitting the link in my description below, you guys can get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So you put down $10 like I did, you get $20. You put down $50, you get $100. You put down $100, you get $200 free money for you guys to play with. So go ahead and check out my friends over at Mojo Fantasy. Now, let's get back to today's video as we scroll up and get back the graphic. There we go. So, Ian, my next question for you is going to be very important. That's going to be, what's the Achilles heel of this Jets team? Like, if the Patriots are trying to beat the Jets, what is the best way to exploit them?
Offensive line. Pass protection has been horrible through the first 2 games. It was horrible last season. It's a positional group that's thin. It's old. It's honestly hard to watch, right? Especially matched with Nathaniel Hackett's game plans going in. It's been a bit granted, the first one, I'll give him a pass. Aaron Rodgers was the starter, gets hurt 4 plays in. I'm not really thinking that Hackett is thinking that Rodgers is going to get hurt 4 plays in. I'm not expecting him to have, a Zach Wilson game plan. So the second game, though, that's a completely different story. I was shocked, right? We're going up against Dallas's defense. It's talented. It's deep. They're well coached. They have Micah Parsons, and we're rolling Zach Wilson out there in empty sets. We aren't chipping Micah Parsons every single opportunity we can, and he wrecked the game. So I'm afraid that Matt Judon is going to be utilized the same exact way as Micah Parsons. Saleh came out in his press conference, after that Cowboy game, and essentially admitted that they did not know how to stop Parsons, because he was just dominating from start to finish, and tipped his cap to him in the presser, but basically alluded to the fact that he just was doing his thing and there was nothing that they can do about it. And Judon is a similar player to Parsons. Parsons is, in my opinion, better, but Judon is a guy who can drop back in coverage. He can line up on the left, line up on the right. You could send him at the quarterback in multiple different ways. He sets the edge. He stops the run. Good leader. I love Matt Judon. I have a feeling Belichick is probably watching that Cowboys game saying, okay, not only did Parsons just go out there and dominate, but the Jets didn't really try to do anything to try to negate it, right? To try to slow him down. It was just, the excuse was Parsons moves on the defensive line. That's it. So you know what? It's like, so does Judon. What's the plan there? So that to me is the biggest Achilles heel: pass protection.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this Patriots defensive line was a little bit suspect. Even in pass rush was a little bit suspect last week at times. It did not perform as well as we thought it was going to, but we do know that week one, it was looking very, very good. My biggest concern for the Patriots is more that interior of the defensive line, those big body guys to stop the run. So for me personally, Breece Hall to me is very, very scary in this game, especially with what we saw from Mostert this past week against the Dolphins. I'm very scared with if they just send Breece Hall up the gut of the Jets offensive line and how that ability is going to be for the Patriots to stop them because of their kind of issues over at nose tackle. But I think in terms of pass rush, this is going to be a potentially really good game for the Patriots. I mean, Christian Barmore isn't necessarily great at stopping the run. That's an area he needs to perform at, but he is top 3 right now in interior defensive line pressures right now. He's absolutely balling. You obviously have Keon White, who it doesn't necessarily show up on the stat board, but he obliterated week 1 Lane Johnson, who to me is the best tackle in football. He either allowed 0 sacks or 1 sack last year for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he just completely bull rushed Lane Johnson back into Jalen Hurts there week 1. So the Patriots from Keon White to Jalen Mills, what was I going to say, to Matt Judon rather, to Dietrich Wise, who can play on the edge or in the interior too, and Josh Uche, who has been silent. He's been pretty silent, but he's been deadly. He had 1 sack week 1, but he had 8 pressures this past week alone against the Dolphins. So he's been absolutely stellar. So again, I do think if the Patriots are going to win this game, it's going to be, like you said, in order to get pressure on Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson, it seems like every game is throwing, at least 2 interceptions. And I think that's how the Patriots come out with this win, is you have to force Zach Wilson to turn over the ball. They're 4-0 against Zach Wilson. You know how to play against him. Now, unfortunately, they don't have Devin McCourty, who seems to ball out against Zach Wilson and even Sam Darnold when he was here. So probably just Jets quarterbacks in general. So I think the best way for the Patriots to continue to get some picks in this game is going to be to pressure Zach Wilson the entire game. Because when Zach Wilson is under pressure, he doesn't look all that good. That's when he makes his mistakes. When he has a clean pocket, I think he makes a lot better moves. So Ian, my last question for you isn't even going to be necessarily about this game, but kind of a question that I'm just curious your thoughts and opinions on this. So right now, like we said earlier in the stream, the AFC East, I think, is going to be close. It's going to come down to to these divisional games, right? That's going to be the most important thing. I think seeding in the AFC in general, not even the AFC East, but the AFC in general is going to be very, very close. I think a lot of teams are going to have the same record. So I think for a team like the Patriots, and I don't have the Jets in the playoffs anymore, but maybe they somehow squeeze into the playoffs too. That's always a possibility. I think these divisional games are going to be very, very important in terms of seeding and who's going to make that kind of last spot in the AFC playoffs. So right now it's the Dolphins at 2-0. It's the Jets at 1-1, the Bills at 1-1 because you guys obviously beat them week 1, and then the Patriots at 0-2. What are your AFC East predictions? By the end of the season, what are kind of your thoughts with how this division is going to look come the end of the season in terms of like placement?
Yeah, I still think it's the Bills division. I feel like they're just too talented of a bunch to, you know, completely fall off. I've seen a lot of people saying that the Bills Super Bowl window is closed, but it's open for Cincinnati. It's open for the Chargers. It's open for the Ravens. It's open for all these teams, but for the Bills, it's closed. I don't really agree with that notion. I think they're deep, they're talented. They have Von Miller coming back at some point, in the middle parts of the season. I still feel like the Bills will get that number 1 spot. Based off of what we've seen in the first 2 games, Miami looks pretty good, right? Miami is flying around the field. Obviously 2 huge wins against New England and the Chargers here, which, is not only just great for the numbers, right? The record and being 2-0 in the AFC, but it's also great for morale. People are talking about Herbert and New England is never going to be an easy out. So for Miami to, go in there and get the 2 road wins, if I'm not mistaken, starting the season off with 2 road games and to be 2-0, I think is huge. So, I'm inclined to say Miami at spot number 2. 3 and 4 to me is kind of a toss up because we saw the Jets go 7-10 last season. And everything was going wrong, right? Players were hurt. No Elijah Vera Tucker, no Breece Hall. We played 3 different quarterbacks. Mike LaFleur ended up getting fired after the season. It was just a mess. And yet we still managed to walk away with 7 wins. It's not a perfect science. I know football doesn't really work like that. But, it's so tough because this entire offseason I was thinking Aaron Rodgers, what this team is going to look like. We do have a lot of new faces. So it's another kind of tough thing to kind of predict here with, Nathaniel Hackett. How does Wilson look in Hackett's offense? We have a brand new offensive staff too, new wide receivers coach, a new offensive line coach, a new run game and pass game coordinators, right? Just a lot of newness offensively. And again, players coming back from injury, big, name players here. So for 3 and 4, it is a bit of a toss up for me, but that's kind of how the layout is kind of viewed, at least in my head.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely. I think the Bills go number 1. I think it's going to be a week to week kind of battle between them and the Dolphins. But we saw the Dolphins start hot last year. And then there was a point where I think they lost like 2-3 games in a row. And then they lost like 6 out of their final 7 in a row. So it was kind of a tough kind of half to that season. Obviously Tua was injured, but can we even at this point rely on Tua to stay healthy? I think that's the biggest question too, because they're a night and day team when Tua is on that team versus when Tua is not on that team. So, I even look at the Jets too, and they're a better roster. They're a better roster this year than they were last year. Obviously a much harder schedule for not just the Jets or the Patriots, but the AFC East in general. And that obviously has to be played into factor. Obviously I had you guys being a completely different team with Aaron Rodgers versus Zach Wilson. I know that some Jets fans think that, hey, Zach Wilson got some time under, Aaron Rodgers, and he has a better receiving cast this year. Like, he is still going to be our future quarterback after Aaron Rodgers. I don't know, man. I personally believe, and this is no hate on him whatsoever, but I just personally, from a football standpoint, don't believe that Zach Wilson is a true starting quarterback in the league. I think that he'll be serviceable for you guys for this year. But I think that even, when Aaron Rodgers retires or just doesn't play for you guys, I don't think that future plan for you is going to be Zach Wilson. So I think that is going to be something that proves to be good for you guys at times. He'll be good, but then he'll be really bad at times and be very inconsistent, which I think is going to be the problem with the Jets this year. But Ian, man, I really appreciate you for coming on to the channel, talking some Patriots and Jets football, and giving us some insight on kind of this Jets matchup and this Jets team on how they've looked. Like always, guys, make sure you do follow Ian. He makes great content, not just about the Jets, but he makes great content just in general about the NFL and does some of his thoughts and reactions. And you get your videos out quicker than I think any other YouTuber does, which is absolutely astounding from a fellow YouTuber who I know how hard that is. So make sure you guys check him out. Make sure you guys also check out his recent video. We, of course, did a video where I gave more insight about the Patriots to those Jets fans. So if you guys want to hear some more of my Patriots thoughts, go ahead and check out that video. But, Ian, anything else you want to say before we log off?
No, I just appreciate you you have me on the channel. I always look forward to it. It's always cool kind of touching base and catching up and talking Pats and Jets.
Yeah, man, always. So, guys, we will, of course, be seeing Ian on this channel again at some point this season, so he will be a familiar face, but check him out. Of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. Leave a big like on the video because it massively, massively helps and supports out the channel. It's not for looks, like I always say. It generally helps out the YouTube algorithm and helping this video and the channel be more successful. But as always, I'm Patriots Global. I appreciate you guys for watching, and of course, never forget